What's up, guys? Welcome into MLB DFS Live. I'm your host, Ben Hostler. Solo today. Bales. Bales is at the vet. And a busy day here. So I'm just going to go over some of the baseball slate. If you guys have questions, go ahead, drop them in chat. I'll just focus on those questions that you guys have. And I'm kind of just going to talk through the slate here. Before we get into that, though, I do want to mention all the free content we have at dfskarma.com. I have an article up today. We have a new article that Sam and Rube engineered, the slate breakdown. So I'm going to be doing that on Mondays and Saturdays. Bales has it on Tuesdays and Fridays, and then Rube has it on Wednesday and Thursday. So this is a really good article. It incorporates this live trends page here from BetKarma, which I have up on my screen. It incorporates a lot of Sam's data and his projections into the article right in one spot, easy for you guys to read and digest in one article. So I'm really happy that we got that going. And that's live for today's slate on the website. So be sure to go check that out. I've been on a little bit of a couple-day cold streak here after hitting for 10K, which heading into that 10K win, I think I had won 11 out of 13 days. So, I was due for a little cold streak here, but I'm feeling good about my process. There's a lot of luck that goes into baseball on a day-to-day basis. So I feel good about my process, and I'm ready to get after it again tonight. Like I said, if you guys are just joining in, if you guys have questions, feel free. Drop them in the chat. I will answer them. So I'm going to start. Guess I'll start talking about pitchers. This page that I have up right here, betkarma.com/live trends. It's free. You can access this every day on betkarma.com. So it just is a really nice place to look at the Vegas information all on one page. You don't have to click around. Has everything you need right there. As far as pitchers today, there's three really good ones up top. We have Shane Bieber, we have Yu Darvish, and we have Walker Buehler. You could also probably throw Freddie Peralta into that conversation given how he has pitched this season. But if we're looking at multiple season track record, it's Shane Bieber, Yu Darvish, and Walker Buehler at the top. I kind of wrote in my article today that just the way this season has been, like I've been spending up for pitching more often than not, and I think that's likely what I'm going to do again tonight. Allison, what are your lower owned stacks for the night? So this is an interesting slate. You can see here on the trends, like there's not a ton of must play stacks. I mean, we have the Yankees implied for 5.6, Boston 5.9, and Minnesota 5.4. Like none of those are really like far and away the top stack, and I'm like, I need to go out and stack that team. So I think this could be a night that I end up kind of rolling out a couple 2 or 3 man stacks in my lineup rather than just getting a full 5-man in. I will say that Boston is probably the best spot just because Casey Mize is someone I'm a fan of. He was a really high pick, number 1 overall pick in the entire draft. I think he's going to be good eventually, but he just hasn't put it all together yet. He's really struggled with lefties. So I think like stacking Boston makes sense because once they get Casey Mize out of the game, Detroit has far and away been the worst bullpen in baseball. They're just horrible. We saw the Red Sox just, they just teed off on that bullpen last night. Like they're rolling out guys like Daniel Norris and Buck Farmer out of the bullpen. It's just a disaster. So stacking against Detroit is always fine for me just because of how bad their bullpen is. That is the one game that has weather concerns though. So we could get a situation where people want to play the Red Sox, and that's the one stack that's getting ownership, and then that game end up getting canceled. So we'll have to wait and see on that. But as far as lower owned stacks, I don't really have a ton. I think I'm just gonna end up more going a bunch of smaller stacks today rather than full stacks. I do like the Brewers guys a little bit. They're really cheap on DraftKings. Up against Chase Anderson. So I was looking at them because I'm not going to have a lot of salary to spend if I'm spending up for pitching. And then I don't want to mention the Nationals because they let me down last night, but Max Fried just hasn't looked like himself. He's been on the injured list with a hamstring injury. I don't really know what to expect from him his first start back. The Braves bullpen is horrible behind him. So I do like the Nationals again, even though they were not good to me last night. So I guess if you want some lower owned ones, I think Milwaukee and Washington right now are sticking out to me, but I think this is a slate that I'm going to roll out a couple different stacks in my lineup. Focus more on 2 and 3 men rather than a full 5 man. 2 or 3 home runs for Nelson Cruz today. Yeah, the Twins are definitely one of the top spots. I don't know much about this guy starting for Texas other than he came over from the KBO. His numbers in the KBO were not super good, which doesn't really bode well for him in the major leagues, but I think it's going to be more of like a bullpen game. I don't love stacking against bullpen games just because it's so easy for them to play matchups, but they are going to see a lefty. Like Cruz is at least going to get that first at bat against a lefty, so I'm definitely fine with the Twins. But getting back to pitchers, there's so much value on these slates, man. Like I've never before seen so many guys that are 3,500 and below on DraftKings that are actually good hitters. Like a couple years ago, if we got someone that was 3K or 2,500 and they were in the lineup, like you wanted to play those guys, kind of regardless of lineup position. But now it's pretty regularly that we're getting cheap hitters that are at the top of lineups, and they're at the top of lineups that we actually are interested in. So it's just going to lead me to spend up more at pitching more often than not. And I really feel pretty strong about Bieber and Darvish both tonight. You can see that this 2.1 implied team total for the Pirates is just hilarious. But I do think if I'm only picking one stud, I think it's going to be Bieber. I think Bieber's the second best pitcher in baseball right now. The Royals lineup, like the Royals have been good to start the season, right? Like I don't know if they still do, but at least for last week, they had the best record in baseball. People will think of that as some great offense, but it's really been other things contributing to that, and it could be a little bit luck as well. But if you look at their lineup, Whit Merrifield and Santana don't strike out a lot. Everyone else in that lineup does strike out a decent amount. So I'm not super worried about the spot for Bieber. He's only 10-4, I think, on DraftKings, which is just too cheap. He should be over 11K. So I'll take the discount. Darvish, obviously, great matchup against Pittsburgh. He doesn't have the same leash as Bieber. Bieber's been regularly going, over 100 pitches. So Darvish is not going to go over 100, but he can be really efficient with his pitches. This is just not a good offense. So I just think it's a very clear spot for those two guys. Buehler's been dealing with some decreased velocity, but he's been able to have success despite that. The Cubs strike out a ton against righties. I really liked Buehler against Chicago on Monday, and he ended up getting pushed back due to that postponement, so he's throwing today. I have no problems using him whatsoever in all formats. But yeah, so if you guys have questions, drop them in. I think I'm spending up on pitcher tonight. The one guy I think is interesting in the mid-tier is Robbie Ray. Kind of looking at this Toronto-Oakland game down here. So I wrote this up in my article, but Robbie Ray's doing a lot of interesting things this season. His strikeouts are down. His walks are down. But the swing and misses are still there, so I think the strikeouts will probably come. But the walks being down are really interesting when you think of someone like Robbie Ray, because for the large part of his career, he's been someone that gets a lot of strikeouts but gives up a lot of hard contact, and he walks a lot of guys. So when he does give up that home run, it's a 2 and 3 run home run rather than just a solo shot. But he's been working ahead in counts. His zone percentage is higher than it's been in the last 4 seasons. So he's attacking the strike zone more regularly. He's getting ahead of hitters, and that's really leading to less walks, which is really big for him. And he's also seen this increased velocity. So before the season started, there was a ton of hype out of the Blue Jays camp that, Robbie Ray had figured some stuff out. He's throwing harder. I was not really expecting him to cut it down as much as he did, but 9% walks is still a lot when you look at a pitcher, but relative to the 17% that he was throwing last year. That is a big cut down, and this A's lineup has a lot of strikeouts in it. They're very boom bust. Well, when they boom, they're gonna boom. They're gonna hit a bunch of home runs, but they have a lot of strikeouts. So I do think it's a good matchup for him. He's the late hammer there, the 9:40 latest game on the slate. I haven't checked updated ownership projections quite yet, but I wouldn't be shocked if he ends up kind of popular just because of his name. But hopefully he slips through the cracks a little bit. Thoughts on Singer versus Martin Perez of spinning down? Yeah, so I think Singer, I've seen get a lot of talk today. He might end up kind of popular. Again, I haven't checked updated ownership projections, so we'll have to see. But I'm not a huge Brady Singer guy. I don't really want to go out of my way to use him. Like, I would rather use Robbie Ray than Singer. Perez, kind of the same situation. I just don't want to go out of my way to use him on this slate. I have a really tight pitcher pool today, and it's basically all the guys up top, and then you could add Peralta in for tournaments, and then it's Robbie Ray, and that's about it. To be honest, I don't really want to mess with Singer if he's going to be owned. I really wish we had Ohtani as a pitcher on this slate because I would definitely be interested in him against Tampa, but the website's messed that up a little bit. DraftKings just retweeted something about Singer. Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of people on Twitter just talking about him today. He had that big start I think it was 2 starts ago, went over 30 DraftKings points. Yeah, I mean, he certainly could beat the Indians because I'm not scared of picking on the Indians whatsoever, but I'm just not a huge fan of his. I don't know. I don't know if the upside's really there. Even though the Indians are bad, they haven't been striking out as much as I expected them to. And a couple of their guys, like Jose Ramirez, Franmil Reyes, those guys have been really locked in at the plate. So this isn't a slate where I want to go out of my way and play someone that I don't have a ton of conviction on. But yeah, I mean, if he's high owned, that wouldn't shock me whatsoever. As far as positional plays goes, I'll kind of run through the guys I'm targeting. What's up? Favorite sneaky stack? Nice. Second person that asked that question. I was kind of talking about how I don't think I'm going to be really full stacking tonight. I think I'm going to focus more on 2- and 3-man stacks just because I don't have a ton of conviction with these offensive spots. But I think Boston will be really chalky if that game's able to go. So I think the 2 sneakier ones I was looking at are the Brewers and the Nationals. Brewers mainly because their stack is really cheap on DraftKings, and I'm going to be spending up at pitcher. You can get Garcia and Lorenzo Cain, both under 3,500 in the outfield. Travis Shaw is someone that is always cheap and never gets ownership. He's actually looked pretty decent to start the year. And no one wants to stack the Brewers when Yelich is in the lineup anyways. So I think Brewers are sneaky. I was all over the Nationals last night. They let me down. But going back to the well against lefty that hasn't looked like himself with a bad bullpen behind him, I think makes a lot of sense in tournaments, and no one will want to play them after they scored 1 run last night. Yeah, Urias has looked really good. He was up in the order last night. I don't think their lineup's out. I think he was batting second, so that would definitely be interesting if he was in. But like I said, positional plays. First base, I think Freeman might get some ownership again. I don't know, man. I can't figure him out. Like, there's been times this season when he's looked like himself and looked really good, and then it looked like last week he was starting to heat up, and then we hit that weekend series against the Blue Jays down in that Little League park in Florida, and he couldn't hit anything, especially on Sunday, man. He just looked lost. I liked him again last night against Joe Ross, someone that he had seen pretty well in his career. I'm not a big BVP guy, but he had seen Joe Ross a lot. Had some success against him, and he did not look good last night either. So I don't know. It's daily fantasy. I try not to worry about that stuff too much, but he does not look super good at the plate. But I do think he's going to get ownership. One of the better projections at first base. But I'm probably have to save some money. I'm going to be taking cheap guys at a bunch of these positions, I feel like, today. Lewis Thorpe someone asked about. Yeah, I think Lewis Thorpe. I don't want to say he's going to get ownership, but I don't know, man. 4K is definitely interesting. I'm always interested in someone that's 4,000 on DraftKings that's actually going to start and not be an opener. But um, like I said, with all the value we've been getting at some of these positions, I just don't think you need to spend 4,000 for a pitcher. Like it's too easy to spend up for two pitchers at this point on DraftKings. So I don't think I'm gonna mess with a 4K pitcher on this slate. But it is the Rangers. They are horrible. I mean, I just have pretty much no respect for this Tigers offense and this Rangers offense. I mean, they're just so bad. Like just crazy bad. So I understand people wanting to play Lewis Thorpe for 4K, but I'm not going to do it tonight. Too much value, and I feel really strong. Like you could play Lewis Thorpe and he could get 10 points, and you would feel pretty good. But Darvish and Bieber could both go tonight and just drop 35 DraftKings points very easily in these matchups. Home run call. That's a tough one on this slate. I think if I had to pick someone right now for a home run, I might go Starlin Castro. I've been riding Starlin Castro the last couple of days. He had two loud warning track flies over the weekend. I played him last night and he predictably did nothing, but it was righty on righty. Tonight he obviously gets a lefty, which he has hit really well throughout his career. So I think if I had to pick one guy right now, it might be Starlin Castro. But we'll have to wait and see. Tyler, going back to Washington, yeah, I think I'm probably going to end up going back to them. I don't weight stuff day to day like some people. Obviously, they let me down in a huge way, lost me a bunch of money last night, but I think the spot is good again, and I'm always fine stacking against the Braves because their bullpen has just been so bad. So I think at least the righties are in play. Josh Bell, I would not play in a stack. He just looks lost, man. He's not making any contact. He's just striking out. I don't know what's going on with him, but he doesn't look. He just doesn't look good to me. So I think you can get Trey Turner, Castro. I think Soto will probably be back in the lineup because he pinch hit last night, late in that game. So you can get Soto, Turner, Starlin Castro, for a nice little 3-man stack. Maybe Yan Gomes at catcher hits lefties pretty well. So I like those guys if you're using the Nationals. Tough to make up those points. That's my point. Especially with how these teams these totals. Like look at these totals. I'm on the trends page right now. 8.5, 9.5, 7.5, 9, 7.5, 8.5, 7, 6.5, 7.5. Like these totals are lower than they have been in the last like 2 seasons, especially last year in that shortened season. We were seeing like regularly 9.5, 10 totals for like all these games, and the offense just hasn't been there. I know there was a ton of talk before the season about de-juicing the ball. It's been pretty clear pitching has been winning out over hitting so far in this season, and offense is just down a little bit. So it's tough. Like you're not getting these teams like throwing up massive run totals. So if you get 2 expensive pitchers that go off, it is tough to make that up if you spend down and you need your bats and they just haven't been coming through. So I've been really riding expensive pitching. I plan to do so again. Castro starting for the Mets. Yeah, dude, I ran so bad last night. I didn't even realize it until you just said that, Frosty. But yeah, we had Carpenter. I had Carpenter in my core place. His game got postponed. The Nationals, they didn't look good, but that first inning, Trey Turner singles to start the game. Yadi Hernandez hits a screamer to the outfield right at their left fielder. That gets caught. Kyle Schwarber hits a bullet right at the third baseman. So, if a couple of those get down and they score some runs, like that could be a completely different game. Yanoa might not have got as comfortable as he did. He really got in a rhythm and he was just mowing them down. So yeah, I mean that first inning, if that went a little bit differently, that could have changed some things. Obviously, Carpenter got canceled, and that was about it. I mean, we weren't super far off the cash line. Um, that was frustrating, but yeah, I think Matt Carpenter is a good play. He's leading the Cardinals right now in barrel rate, which would shock some people. I mean, they have guys like Goldschmidt, Arenado, Dylan Carlson, Tyler O'Neill in their lineup, and old Matt Carpenter is leading the team in barrel rate right now. He's over 50% hard contact, um, or over 50% fly balls, good hard contact. So he's been hitting the ball really well. He's been seeing the ball well. He's really cheap on DraftKings. So anytime he's playing a pretty mediocre right-hander at this point, I'm probably going to be interested in him as long as he's this cheap. Thoughts on the Red Sox? Yeah, I said at the start of this, I think they're probably the best stack. Just because Mize has really struggled with lefties. But if you're going to stack them, I would not go and just only put the lefties in. I would want everyone, because if they get Mize out of this game early, this bullpen is terrible. The bullpen was hit hard last night, so you just full stack Boston. As long as the game, that's the one game with real weather concerns. So just be sure that that game plays. But yeah, a full Boston stack is probably the top spot on the slate, to be honest. And I haven't messed with lineups, but some of these guys aren't super expensive. Like, it wouldn't shock me if you could get a mini Boston stack in with two expensive pitchers. I mean, Verdugo's only 4,200. Kike Hernandez is 4K. You're going to get some of these other outfielders are cheap that are going to be down in the order. Renfroe hit a home run last night. Franchy Cordero's cheap. He's been regularly playing. Dahlbeck's been regularly playing. He's cheap. So you could get a full Boston stack in with some lower owned guys that are down in the order and still spend up for pitching, which might be something I look at doing if we get clearance on the weather in that game. Because really, JD, I don't know. We'll see if Devers is in the lineup. He wasn't in the lineup last night, but if we say Devers is out of the lineup again, it's really just JD and Xander for like the expensive guys. And then Vasquez at catcher, but I don't really care much about that. Bold call. Oh man, this is a tough slate. Bold call. I would say I might go with the Brewers. Score 8 runs for bold call. I think, I don't know, the Yankees maybe, now that I'm looking at this, they could pick up some ownership. This 5.6 team total is sticking out to me a little bit. They're a cheap stack, right? Stanton's still under 5K. A lot of their supplementary guys like Urshela and all those guys are always seem to be cheap. Yeah, I mean, they could pick up some ownership. Stanton's been locked in, man. Tough fate of those guys. Tons of love on the over in that game, too. I don't know. I might have to look at the Yankees a little bit deeper after we get off here. Favorite cheap 5-man stack? I mean, it might be what I was just talking about, that if the Boston game goes, like, you can get a really cheap Boston stack in. Verdugo, Kike, Dahlbeck, Renfroe, like some of those guys down in the order are cheap. You can fit those guys in. Brewers will be a cheap stack. I'll keep talking about them, but like I said, Garcia and Lorenzo Cain, those guys are both low 3Ks on DraftKings. I don't think Travis Shaw is super expensive. So Nationals are relatively actually, I don't know. If you're gonna play Soto, that's not as cheap as they were yesterday. Yesterday the Nats were so cheap, part of the reason that I was on them. But Brewers, Boston, you can get a cheap Boston stack in for sure. Home run call, yeah, I gave it away. I said it was Starlin Castro, I think, as of right now, but could change by the time I do final thoughts. We'll have to wait and see. Speaking of final thoughts, if you guys want access, I do final thoughts every day except for Sunday. Rube does final thoughts on Sundays, but they're there on the site every day. It's part of our premium package, dfscomer.com/MLB if you want to sign up. Two of our subscribers actually won 10K with me on Friday. Lots of other guys had big days, but two people happened to be in that same tournament with me, which was honestly really cool. I was just excited for them to win, even more so than myself. But it's always fun when the core plays are going off and like just seeing other people sweat it out. It's just so fun, and it's a really great community to be a part of. But Padres, dude, I'm done with the Padres almost. Like, I'm never actually done with anyone in baseball just because it's so random. But I don't know how this team is frustrating, man. They're turning into like the Mets, like just super frustrating to stack. And they're not cheap, man. You put Machado, Tatis, Grisham, Hosmer, like those guys are all expensive. Polanco or Turner on DraftKings. If you're picking one of those guys, it would be trade Turner for me. If you are stacking like the Twins, like yeah, you would want to put Polanco in. But if you're just building a lineup specifically like for like cash games, I would lean towards Turner. I'll probably have Turner in my core plays as of right now, but we'll have to wait and see kind of what other value we get in some of these lineups. Raining in New York. Yeah, I saw it was raining. I haven't looked at weather since like a couple hours ago. It didn't look like there was a ton of rain tonight that would mess the game up, but I mean weather changes super quick, so I'll have to look at weather when we get off here. But I don't know. I wouldn't really care if that game got canceled because I mean I like the Yankees side of that game a little bit, but I don't have a ton of conviction there. So if that game got axed, I guess I wouldn't really care that much. Talk about Trout. Yeah. I think I was reading that he's had, I think this is his best start to a season ever, which is pretty crazy considering he's been the best player in baseball for the last like 6 years. But he's like, it's funny, he didn't even win Player of the Month, right? They gave it to Byron Buxton, who it looks like he's fully breaking out finally, finally staying healthy. So it's just funny. It's kind of like the basketball thing with like Jordan and LeBron. Like those guys are so good that they give MVP to other people. Like it wouldn't shock me Trout just has his best year ever and he still doesn't win MVP just because everyone expects him to be so good, which really isn't fair to him. But yeah, I mean he's amazing. You can play him. I've played him on FanDuel every day. I feel like for the last like 2 weeks. And he just keeps hitting home runs. Favorite spend up? I haven't checked ownership, so I don't know who's getting a bunch of run here. I think Freeman is going to get ownership, but if you just ask me strictly my personal favorite spend up, it might be Soto. Soto's good lefty on lefty. And people just aren't really adjusting to him coming back. He just came back and pinch hit last night. So I might pick Soto for favorite spend up. Stanton would be in consideration just with how good he's been playing. And then you have JD Martinez, who's been really good as well in that Boston game. So probably one of those three guys as of right now. Although Cruz and Buxton are right there as well. There's some good spend ups today. Yeah, his numbers are insane, Frosty. I don't know. Like, I just wish he wasn't on like that team. You know, like he's never had an honest run at the World Series just because the Angels have been so bad. I feel bad for him. But it does say something. He didn't sell out. He didn't leave. He signed there. He stayed there. He didn't go. I know people thought he was going to go to the Phillies because that's where he's from. You know, over East Coast, but he stayed there, traded for the Padres. I think the Padres, Frosty, Rube and I were talking about this, so you can talk to me in chat. Talk to me about this. We were talking about the Padres trading Mackenzie Gore because, like, Mackenzie Gore should be in the majors, and he probably should have been in the majors last year. They just don't have a spot for him. And like next year, they don't have a spot for him. Like with Clevenger coming back, like where is he gonna pitch at? I don't know. Like, are they gonna? I don't know what they're gonna do with him. So, are they gonna trade him? I could see them trading him at the deadline and getting someone to go all in with. I don't know. What's your thoughts on that? Because I don't know what they're gonna do with him because I do not have a spot for him. Freeman looks off to me. Yeah, he hasn't looked good. Like early last week, a couple of those games. I don't remember who they were playing. Maybe the Cubs. I can't remember who they played early last week, but he looked really good that home series. He was hitting some home runs. But yeah, the weekend he looked terrible, and he looked terrible last night. So I'm fine fading Freeman. I'm not saying I don't think I'll play him as of right now, but we'll see. See what happens with Lamet. Well, okay, so you take Lamet out, they have Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Joe Musgrove, Chris Paddock, Clevenger. That's 5 guys right there plus Lamet, so that's 6 guys. I don't know. Like that's just their rotation is so good. It's kind of like the White Sox problem where like they just have so many good starters. Like they haven't needed Kopech. Like I don't know. I don't know what the Padres are gonna do with him because that's 6 legitimate guys. And even if Lamet is hurt and you take him out, that's 5 with Clevenger coming back. I do agree. Paddock is the worst of those guys, Tyler. But what would you do with him? Because he's still a major league starter. And I don't think he has like the overpowering type of stuff you would want in the bullpen. So I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna do. Yeah, Frosty for this season. Yeah, put Lamet on the injured list and get Gore up there. I'm in on that, dude. 100%. They could get like a pretty good bat for him though, man. If they actually like traded him. If Paddock's, yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like he's Paddock's probably like a 3, like a really good 3 with potential to be like a 2. So yeah, if he's your 5, I mean, yeah, they're just loaded. But Gore, I mean, this is like the best pitching prospect in baseball. I don't know, and he could have been up last season. I don't know. They don't have any room for him. All right, we've been on here for about 30 minutes. If you guys have any other questions, drop them in. I'll stay on for a little while longer. Just to recap, if you guys join late, kind of where I'm headed on this slate, I think for my main lineup, I'm plugging in Bieber and Darvish and looking out for value. I'm fine with Peralta and Bueller in tournaments, but Bieber and Darvish are head and shoulders above everyone for me on this slate. I like Robbie Ray in tournaments. I like what I've seen from him this season. Jump in velocity, hasn't walked as many guys. Good strikeout matchup against Oakland. So, like I said, the swing and misses have still been there despite his smaller strikeout rate. So maybe this is the matchup that he gets that strikeout pitch going and racks up a couple Ks. So I like him in tournaments, but that's pretty much my pitching pool. And then I'm going to be focusing more on some smaller 2 and 3 man stacks, I think, rather than the full 5 man. I like the Brewers spot a little bit. They're cheap. I like the Nationals again. I like the Red Sox if that game plays, obviously. Yelich, yeah. I don't know. They could get Yelich, but I'm a little bit worried. So we have a big season long league, me and Sam, Rube, a bunch of our subscribers. And I have Yelich, and it's a keeper league, but we just drafted this offseason. So I have Yelich. I'm still in first place, but I'm like not even counting on getting anything from Yelich at this point. Came back for 1 game. He looked fine to me. I don't know. I don't know if I didn't watch all of that game. Maybe he tweaked it later on. Like his first at bat, he looked fine. He was gonna steal on one pitch. He smoked a single. So I don't know, but I can't really count on it, especially with a back. That's something that's gonna linger. But I mean, their outfield's good. I don't like. It's not like they have a bad outfield, Frosty. I guess like Pham has kind of fallen off a little bit. Pham's a guy that he's tough to trust too because he's one of those guys that broke out pretty late. He was pretty old when he broke out for the Cardinals. Spent that time in Tampa, and now he's in San Diego. So this isn't a young player, obviously. Oh man, pour one out for Rougned Odor. I saw he left that game last night. Just went on the injured list. Sub 4K cheap option has been taken from us on this slate with Odor on the injured list. Thank you guys for watching though. Tons of questions today. I appreciate that. Eyesight issues. Yeah, he's got a couple things going on. It's pretty weird. I mean, he's not like bad, obviously, but that is like the one guy that's kind of fallen off. But it's kind of an even trade because Trent Grisham's been so good for them, so it's kind of worth it. Brewers lineup just came out. Let's take a peek at that here. Colton Wong, Kane, Vogelbach, Shaw, Garcia, Bradley Reyes. Oh man, Frosty's boy Urias not in the lineup. But yeah, I mean, I don't love Colton Wong. He's cheap, but I don't love him. But Kane, Vogelbach, Shaw, Avi Garcia, Jackie Bradley, I like that right there. That 5-man. Really like the 2 through 4 there. So I could see myself playing some Brewers on DraftKings with those expensive pitchers. I kind of like that 2 through 4 a lot. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it. If you guys have any other questions, I'll be in Discord. You guys can tag me. You can get in our Discord for free, man. DFSComber.com. There's a banner on the top. You can get in the Discord for free. You won't get access to the premium channels, but you can still talk to us in the regular channels in there. So get in there if you guys have any other questions for the rest of the day. Final thoughts will be up around 6 o'clock. My article is already up, but I'm gonna go work on this slate. And good luck to you. Good luck to you all tonight. Hopefully, we have a big night.